and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago, and posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall, and filed with the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I do further solemnly state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Roll. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Here.
Mr. Elms?
Present.
Ms. Foster?
Here.
Ms. Harris? Mr. Iannacone?
Here.
Council President Armington?
Here. Okay, a moment of silence. Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
Nothing on the consent agenda?
We have a public hearing for the Family Promise of Morris County 2018 CDBG application for our Promise program salaries. Open it up to the public. No public?
Close the public.
We also have a public hearing on the Family Promise of Morris County Emergency Solutions Grant renewal, help fund additional program salaries, as well as our community support program for homeless prevention activities. Open it up to the public. No public, close.
Okay, open up for the regular public meeting. Anyone who would like to address the council? Comments, concerns, opportunities? Anyone from the public want to speak? No? Okay, close the public hearing. Mayor's proclamations and presentations?
Sure. Is anyone here from World Pancreatic Cancer Day? There you are. All right, come on up. I'll get this out of the way first. I didn't think that was that fast.
I know, neither did I.
Hey.
Hello. You look just like Tim. Oh, my God.
No.
Sure. My name is Todd Cohen. I'm a member of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Okay, thank you.
Okay, whereas in 2017, an estimated 53,670 people in the United States will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, one of the deadliest cancers, and 43,090 will die from that disease. Pancreatic cancer surpassed breast cancer this year to become the third leading cause of cancer death in the United States, and is projected to become the second leading cause by 2020. Pancreatic cancer is the only major cancer with a 5-year relative survival rate in the single digits, just at 9%. And when symptoms of pancreatic cancer present themselves, it is generally in later stages. 71% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first year of their diagnosis, while 91% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first 5 years. And approximately 1,270 deaths will occur in New Jersey in 2017. And pancreatic cancer is the 7th most common cause of cancer-related death in men and women across the world. There will be an estimated 367,000 new pancreatic cancer cases diagnosed globally by 2020. And in good health and well-being of the residents of Morristown are enhanced as a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection, causes, and effective treatments. Now therefore, I, Timothy P. Doherty, Mayor of the Town of Morristown, do hereby proclaim November 16th, 2017 as World Pancreatic Cancer Day in the Town of Morristown. I want to thank you for the work that you do to educate people on this. And this is clearly a very important issue. So let me present this to you. A little education on it.
Okay. Let me just put this down up here. I know November is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. A little late, but better late than never. And I I saw a number of you wearing purple today. I don't know if that's by coincidence or not, but purple's the color of pancreatic cancer. I'm a resident of Morristown. My wife is here as well, Marissa. And it's a great community, and we've really enjoyed being part of this community. But what we want to do is help others, and that's why I'm here today. I lost my father to pancreatic cancer about 15 years ago, and at the time the survival rate was only 6%. Wow. Now it's 9%, but it's still unacceptable. We need early treatment options. We need a cure for this disease, as well as other types of cancers as well. It's so very, very important. The organization I'm representing, it's called the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. We meet on the third Wednesday of every month, not this month, but next January, at the Morris County Library. We had a member from Morris Plains who was 29 years old, passed away from this disease. It's horrible to think that once you're diagnosed, like I said, there aren't many viable treatment options. Her memorial ceremony was tonight. So it's heartbreaking to see more and more people lose their battles to this disease. It's unacceptable. So what I want to do, what my organization is hoping to do, is double that survival rate. We have a goal by 2020. Our website is pancan.org. That's PANCAN.org. If you know somebody that is fighting pancreatic cancer right now, I urge you to go on the website. There are clinical trials that are available. There's nutrition information. There's a toll-free number that's on the website where you can reach out, and it could possibly save your life. More and more researchers are getting involved with this disease. We've heard the incidence rate is increasing. We want to see an end to that. And I can't save my father's life, but hopefully I can save other people's lives. I just want to, before I leave today, I want to thank the mayor for this proclamation. It means so much to our organization, and in terms of raising awareness, it's a huge step. With that, I also want to thank Kristen Wedderburn for helping set this up. This is so important to me and my family to make this happen every year. Like I said, the website is pancan.org if you're interested. My email is tcohen, that's C-O-H-E-N, at pancanvolunteer.org if you want to know more about what we're doing from a local standpoint. We just had a 5K in Parsippany that raised about $470,000, and we had about 3,000 people there. So we're making steps in the right direction, but more work needs to be done. And until we have a cure, I'll be back here next November and looking to find answers for this terrible disease. So once again, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. No. Thank you. I'll keep going.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
Okay. I want to announce a couple of retirements. As of December 31st, Deputy Fire Chief John Procthauser, who has been with the town for many, many, many years. You might know him as the person who decorates the front of his house like no other on Speedwell. And Fire Captain Joe Sanfelice, who's been with the Morristown Fire Department for, both of these guys are long-term members, so we will, the community will miss them both. Their expertise in firefighting and training has surpassed what probably their wildest aspirations. They're both excellent fire officials, and we will miss them dearly. Just a reminder that then Morristown Parking Authority will have free parking in Ann and Bank Garage Saturdays and Sundays in December. Past events, everybody that was there, thumbs up to Santa's arrival on Sunday in the Lady of Morristown Green. We had a groundbreaking on Tuesday, November 28th, 68 Ridgedale Avenue, 29 condominiums. We broke ground for that. On November 30th, the Hyatt, those who attended, we had the Hyatt tree lighting. The Hyatt has a new manager. I suggest that council members might want to reach out. Introduce yourself to him. He's a really nice guy, really nice family. They're from Florida. It's going to be a little cold this winter up here for him, but a really nice guy, great family, and he's really excited about being in Morristown and working with the town. I want to thank the fire chief and all the CERT members and the volunteers and the Steve Cernelli and his crew from Red Cross. They came out, they did the smoke detector installation, which was a success. I think the chief walked in. Well, he was here. Oh, he's here. Thanks, Chief. Pass that on to everybody. How many did you do?
Did 171 smoke alarms in 48 homes.
There you go. That's pretty impressive. And that will save lives, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. And make sure you pass that thank you on to all of them. At 10 a.m., Church of Redeemer had a very moving vigil for the victims of gun violence. It was very moving. You realize how many young people are victims of gun violence. I'm going to wait to the next day. I want to make an announcement. Tomorrow at 12:30, we're doing a press conference along with a number of people on this new law they're proposing, federal law, with concealed carry. That I think it's important that we speak loudly about that not happening. It's too long for me to try to go into the details of what this type of law, federal law, will do to New Jersey. But it basically says if you have a gun carrying permit from Utah, you'll be able to carry your gun in New Jersey, concealed. So that's the small version. There's a very long, lengthy bill, and something I think we need to take serious. And I will be on the front steps of Town Hall tomorrow with a number of people dealing with this issue. So anybody who wants to attend, please be at Town Hall between 12 and 12:30. Wednesday, December 6th, there'll be the education workshop for Jacob Ford. I know Councilman Iannacone tried to get this moved. Did your schedule change?
No, I'm glad you did.
There'll be people there from your ward. I know Rebecca's coming, so you'll get all the information. It's really an educational information only. I don't know how well it'll be attended. They're all notified. You might get 5 people out. I'm hoping it's a large attendance, but we'll make sure you stay informed of everything that took place. That will be held at the Museum Ballroom behind Ford Mansion on Washington Place, Jacob Ford Village Educational Workshop. Those who didn't get their tickets, there's a gala on Friday night, the 8th. It's the 86th anniversary gala of the NAACP. That's at 7 p.m. That will be held at Fairleigh Dickinson University at the Mansion. Sunday, December 2nd, December 10th. Sustainable Morristown Silver Certification Party at Jockey Hollow. So those who can attend, it's 2 o'clock at Jockey Hollow. We got the Silver Award. So we're going to celebrate with a little celebration on December 10th. 3 p.m., Our Youth, Their Future holiday event at the Senior Center, which is well attended, and I'm sure you want to say a few words about that now.
Yeah, we just, it's our 5th annual. We do a holiday party every year for the kids in our community. We have so far 136 kids registered. Each will get a gift. They'll have food. They'll decorate gingerbread houses courtesy of Jen and the Morristown Partnership, so we thank you. And it's just really a nice event for kids to come and, be in fellowship and just, something that we want to do as an outpour of love and a cry for help, that we want to reach the kids in our community. And so we do it, this is, like I said, our 5th annual. We're going to have a magic show this year that'll start at 4 p.m. So we encourage everybody to come out and help celebrate our youth and wish them a joyous holiday season.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Mayor Doherty, for all of your support. And I know, Stefan, you've attended a few years, and Councilwoman Hillary Davis and Iannacone, I know you always express your support. And everybody has always, supported the event, each and everybody. So we're appreciative of everybody's support.
We're appreciative of the time you spend for your nonprofit to make this successful for the kids. We've watched it over the years grow, and we're very grateful for it. Okay, so if you're not doing anything December 13th, at noon, stop by the Senior Center. It's our senior holiday Christmas party, and it's usually a hoot. It is well attended by our seniors in Morristown, and it's good if you have any free time to come by and meet our seniors. Allison, Councilwoman Deeb, usually she's there. I've seen her there many times. Sometimes she'll bring a seeing eye dog. Other council members, I'm sure, will be there. It's a fun event. The seniors have a lot of fun. Must be a typo. That's Wednesday, December 13th. Friday, December 15th, not the 13th, will be the town employee holiday party. So you're also all welcome to come and say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to our town employees. That'll be up in the Senior Center at noon on Friday, the 15th. Typo, 13th. Saturday, December 16th, there's a grand opening of ribbon cutting at 2 o'clock for Urban Renew Massage on 59 South Street. Now, I have not experienced it yet. My wife has, as several other people have. It is a very interesting concept. It is a high-end, state-of-the-art technical massage chair that is replacing when you go for a massage. It's all done within the chair. It's all new technology, and from what I understand, it's amazing. So go out and try it. I'm going to try it tomorrow or Thursday, so I'll report back at the next council meeting if you don't get there yourself. Sunday, December 17th at 5 p.m., Morristown United for Healthy Living, One Table Our Community, will be at the Neighborhood House at 5 p.m. at 12 Flagler Street, Morristown, New Jersey, for their, I'm assuming it's a holiday, doesn't really go into it. Our Table, One Community, I'm sure it's a nice event. If anybody can attend, I'll be there. It's the 17th, 5 p.m. on Sunday at the Neighborhood House. I do believe,
I believe there are tickets for that.
oh, are there tickets?
They're free, but there's only, they want to know.
So, go ahead and announce it.
There are tickets. Angela Echeverez has the tickets, and she's upstairs on the second floor.
Talking to Mike, can't hear you.
Angela
Echeverri.
Echeverria?
Echeverri.
Her.
Her.
She has the tickets. She's on the second floor in
Construction.
construction. The tickets are free, so, but they are giving out tickets because they want to be sure that there's enough for everyone.
Okay, so pick your tickets up at the construction window and see Angela for attending the Neighborhood House gala. I think that's all I have, Council President.
Very much.
I have a question on the rental meeting that's tomorrow night. How are residents notified, and is it just for the first ward, or is it for renters throughout town?
Jacob Ford, right? It's for all the residents at Jacob Ford.
Oh, it's just for Jacob
Yeah, and they
Ford?
got notices actually delivered to their homes.
Okay,
That's correct.
And it was very well notified.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Anico.
So it's not for all renters in town, then?
No, it's for Jacob Ford.
Okay,
They're dealing with an issue.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
it, sir.
Council liaison reports?
Parking Authority actually met this evening at 6 o'clock. They did adopt their expense budget for 2018. The expense budget is $3.865 million, $200,000 greater than last year. They did review your memorandum, Stefan, that you had sent them, asking them to possibly come to a council meeting to discuss the parking allocation process that they follow. And that was well received, and they will be contacting Robin to schedule that. The reorganization meeting for the Parking Authority will be on January 4th at 6 o'clock. Public is always welcome. They are doing some consideration with reference to 90-minute meters versus 2-hour meters along South Street. 90-minute meters, their position might be that back when you had more retail in town, 90 minutes was sufficient. Now that it's restaurants, and maybe 2 hours might be more appropriate. So they will be discussing that at an upcoming meeting. In addition to the free parking at Ann and Bank, they will be bagging some meters between December 15th and December 25th. So there will be additional free parking in addition to what the mayor mentioned with reference to Ann and Bank. And they are moving ahead with quite an investment with reference to Lot 10. So hopefully we'll be sitting down and talking to them soon about Lot 10.
Yeah, you and I will have to go see them on the top floor.
Yes, we will. Thank you, Steph.
All right. Anybody?
Morristown Partnership, as you can tell throughout town, holiday season is in full swing, so the partnership is very busy. The green looks beautiful. Santa's arrival was great at the green, and I was just looking, the schedule of events on the green, you have, I think it's Santa Fridays from 2 to 8 p.m., and then Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 7. And then there's a whole bunch of different events available for children. There's gingerbread making, ice sculpting, ornament making, and train rides. So bring your family, bring the kids down to the green. Holidays are here.
Sounds great.
And the Environmental Commission is actually meeting today, so I'll have to get the minutes and I'll report. Their meeting started at 7 and I wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I'll get the minutes and I'll report at our next council meeting.
This past Monday was the Housing Authority meeting. It was a really good meeting. The mayor was in attendance, and everyone was on their best behavior. It was pretty uneventful, so I really don't have anything to report.
All right. Calendar of events, any additional events? No? Okay. Regular business. I know I'd like to make a motion to, what is it? Suspend the rules to move a resolution R-173, 2017 up before the ordinances for introduction.
Okay. I'm moving Resolution 173, 2017, resolution approving the application of 35-41 Market Street Urban Renewal LLC for a long-term tax exemption, to move that before the introduction of the ordinances. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes. All right. So let's start off with
I guess resolution.
Resolution R-173.
Okay.
Take it away. Oh, wait, you probably want to say something. Introduce it, right?
Resolution R-173, 2017, a resolution approving the application of 35-41 Market Street Urban Renewal LLC for a long-term tax exemption.
I'll move it.
Second?
Mr. Inglesino.
Yeah, this is just approving the application, which is a procedural requirement to the vote on the financial agreement.
So if we have a discussion about the application, we should discuss it now prior to the ordinance?
Well, I mean, you can discuss what you want. This is just an approval of the application, again, before you
Okay.
consider the ordinance.
Okay.
So it's a procedural.
It's an introduction.
Well,
Well-
you have to approve the application by resolution before you can consider.
Right.
Sort of approve the receipt of the application?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right.
So we should discuss it now.
No, we should approve,
no,
we should approve the receipt of the application. We've received the application, we believe it's
You're-
complete.
Yeah, you're approving of the application, and then the discussion should be on the introduction of the ordinance.
Gotcha.
Trickery.
Okay. On R-173, 17, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Okay.
Okay, regular business.
So I have 4 ordinance for introduction this evening. I have ordinance O-28, 2017, an ordinance approving the financial agreement for long-term tax exemption by and between the town of Morristown and 35-41 Market Street Urban Renewal LLC.
I'll move it.
Second.
So I believe we have a presentation from the developer. Okay. The applicant.
And by VJE, right?
So can you turn these lights out here?
Let's see. Do you need the lights turned down, or what do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Ignore the apps, ignore the apps.
I caught a little bit of that. See the cartoons on there?
This worked before. Takes a minute to.
Whenever you're ready, Counselor.
Well, first, thank you very much, everyone, for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation. We thought it would be helpful for the council, for us to kind of walk through where we've been until now. I'm going to just present on this first half of this, during this first half of this presentation, just to go over, where these properties are again, what kind of process we've gone through, what the finished product's going to look like, highlight some key dates. I'm then going to turn it over to Mr. Tom Banker, who's seated right there. And Mr. Banker is going to actually walk you through the pilot process and what we've represented in our application, so that you can consider our pilot application with full information. So, I don't know if I said that, my name is Frank Vitolo. I'm with the law firm of Riker Danzig, and the applicant here is 3541 Market Street Urban Renewal LLC. And this is, again, a presentation regarding my client's application for a long-term pilot agreement. Okay. Here on behalf of the owners of this project are Joseph Feldman, right here. Joe, if you want to stand up. Joe is the rep for Vertical, and next to him is Peter Brosens. Peter is with Stoller Capital. This project was the result of a joint venture, so each of their respective parties own 50% of the project. And they're here to answer some questions if you have them, either during Mr. Banker's presentation or afterwards. So, just as a little refresher, if you look at the screens here, the 2 lots that we're discussing are part of 3 lots straddling Market and Bank Streets that were included in the Epstein's rehabilitation plan. At the time the rehabilitation plan was passed, and a little bit after, everyone acknowledged that there were still significant challenges to developing these parcels. They have irregular shapes, they have frontage on 2 public streets, and there is a significant change in grade between the 2 streets. It's almost a full story. So, and I will also point out that in the rehabilitation plan, just as with the buildings that were constructed at 40 Park, Metropolitan, and DeHart, the rehabilitation allowed for some more flexible zoning and a 5-year tax abatement. Despite all that, these properties that we're speaking of tonight remain undeveloped, lighted, and underutilized. So in 2014, this body designated these 3 parcels as an area in need of redevelopment, as opposed to an area in need of rehabilitation. That made these parcels eligible for a long-term pilot. Okay? And this town strategy here worked. Shortly after the council made this redesignation, Hampshire purchased the triangular lot that's at the bottom of Market and Bank Streets, and my clients purchased the other 2 remaining lots that you're looking at this on the screen here. As our financial expert will explain to you this evening, without this long-term pilot, this vertical solar project could not be built. I'm going to show you on the next slide a couple key dates just to reorient you. July 14th, 2016, this council approved an amendment to the redevelopment plan that enabled our client to move forward with site plan approval. October 13th, 2016, the council approved the redeveloper agreement between our clients and the town. And August 24th, 2017, the planning board granted site plan approval for this project. This project is now approved, it has an unappealable approval, and this is the last piece, this pilot agreement is the last piece in what has been a long process. Okay, the next slide is what has been approved for this site. This is a 54-unit apartment building with approximately 20,000 square feet of retail space on the first level. As you can see, the building will create a beautiful streetscape along Market Street with outdoor dining and pedestrian access. Bank Street side of the building will showcase a 2-story retail component, which will further activate the Bank Street location for pedestrians and others. Among other amenities this building will feature is a finished roof deck with an outdoor kitchen and an enclosed glass solarium that you can see over to the right side that will house a gym and other amenities for the residents to use. I included this picture because this vertical solar project will complement the new Fox Rothschild building perfectly and continue the revitalization of the Market and Bank Streets as you approach the Morristown Green. We believe when this project's complete, this building that we're going to construct will be an iconic building in the town of Morristown. So that orients you on where we've been, where we are now, and what we intend to build on the site. I now will ask Tom Banker to come up, and he is going to talk to you about pilots and the application that we filed before the council. Tom?
Well, thank you, and it's nice to be back in Morristown. I've met several of you before, not all of you, but this project is an interesting challenge, given how well you've done. Oh, he's a beautiful guy. Is he a seeing eye guy?
Yeah.
Oh.
Tom Banker.
Can you see me?
You may, yeah.
Stick
Who does he represent?
Okay.
Mr. Banker, sorry, before you start, do you represent the developer or do you represent the town?
No, I represent the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. I do, in all fairness, represent towns in many cases. In this case, I'm representing a developer. Okay. First of all, just by way of background, and most of you probably know this already, that the term financial agreement is a technical term under the long-term tax exemption law, that this is specifically refers to the contract by which the town agrees to exempt the property from normal taxation and to impose a payment in lieu of taxes on the property. Under that law currently, that exemption and the abatement can be for a period of up to 30 years from the granting of the CO of the project. So that's, when we use the term financial agreement, it's referring specifically to that contract, that statutory term. Next slide. So, and people throw the term around of pilots. Pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. And technically, under the long-term tax exemption law, properties are still subject to land taxes, but if you pay your land taxes on a timely basis, the amount you pay in land taxes is applied in the subsequent year as a credit against your pilot obligation. So in reality, you don't pay both. You basically pay the tax abatement payment with just a one-year lag on that credit. So when we throw numbers around, the number you really need to focus on is the pilot number, because the land tax number isn't in addition to, it's just you pay it, then you get a credit, the next year you pay it, get a credit. So it's the pilot that really makes the difference. Next slide. Okay, so in this case, the proposed terms are substantially greater than the minimum that the statute permits. Under the long-term tax exemption law, even without the use of redevelopment area bonds, and we're not talking about those here, but even in the absence of that, municipalities are allowed to grant a tax abatement at a rate of 10% of the annual gross revenues of the project. An annual gross revenue means pretty much what it sounds like it means. It's all of the revenue that the project collects from its operations. And it's even beyond that for some cases. If you, for example, ask the tenants to pay their own utilities, you add what they pay for utilities back into their rent, so the annual gross revenue gets bigger. So annual gross revenue is, easiest way to think of it is, if you were a landlord and you paid all the costs in the building and you asked for the tenant to pay a rent and not pay anything else, that's gross revenue. So that's the basis when we use the term annual gross revenue. It's the higher number. It's not trickery or deception. It's the highest number that someone would pay if they were paying 100%. So in this case, whereas 10% represents the minimum that the statute allows, in this agreement, as a result of the negotiations between the parties, that rate will start off at 11.25% for the first 10 years. It will then rise to 11.5% for the next 5 years. It will then go to 13.5% for the next 5 years after that, then 14% for 1 year, well, actually 14% for 5 years. I'll get back to the or else provisions in a minute. And then ultimately it caps off at 15%. So instead of 10% throughout a 30-year period, this is growing from 11.25 all the way up to 15. The statute also requires that the project has to always compare its payments against what it would otherwise pay if it was subject to full taxes. So that happens in a series of 5 steps. During the first step, it's just compared to what the property used to pay before the new project. In the second part, you compare it to 20% of what full taxes would be. In the third stage, you compare it to 40% of full taxes, and then to 60%, ultimately to 80% of taxes. So all those lines up there on the screen, they're showing you that the town would get the greater of the formula or that comparison to full taxes over the course of the 30 years. That, as I said before, is substantially greater than the minimum that the statute would allow the town to grant. So this is more than what is typically granted in most municipalities, with tax abatement. Okay, so to compare, just to give you a baseline, and this is only at the beginning of the process, and we're happy to share with you, in fact, we have shared with your financial professionals the full 30-year comparison. But, okay, so currently, this site pays $74,000 in taxes, of which the municipal share is about $28,000. It will take about 3 years for the project to stabilize, meaning get built and then rent up. But when it is the first year that it is stabilized, it will pay in pilot payments $225,000, or basically, 3 times the amount that it pays currently, and the municipal share will be about $194,000. And the reason why the municipal share is greater proportionally is because under the tax abatement statute, under the long-term tax exemption law, the shares that go to the county, the school district, and the municipality are different. Under regular taxes, you share every dollar that is paid with the county and with the school district and the municipality. Your share is a little bit more than 1/3. However, under tax abatement, the part that isn't land taxes that you get paid, you get 95%, and the county gets 5%. So that change in the allocations means that not only is this project going to pay more in the aggregate for its taxes, in quote, but the municipality will retain a much greater proportion of those payments. Okay, so this is what around the state is referred to as the but-for consideration, and that is how important is this incentive to the project? Well, comparing the financials of this project, coverage ratio is how much cash flow the project has that's available to pay the mortgage. Banks typically want about 130% of the mortgage payment to be available to give them a cushion to make sure you can make your mortgage payments. This project, if it has to pay full taxes, won't achieve that level of coverage until 10 years after it's built. Internal rate of return, the IRR, is a accounting measure that is used to compare projects as to how attractive they are to investors. This project without an abatement returns 6.46% over the 30-year period. That is not an attractive rate of return, candidly. At those numbers, in the conventional marketplace, and I'm in that marketplace all the time. I'm happy to go through all the projects I represent and places I work. And as I said, I work both on the municipal side and the private side. This is a project that, without a tax abatement, in my opinion, cannot be financed by conventional means. It would require people to literally write a check out of their own pocket and not to attract equity investors or attract traditional investors or lenders. So it fails the but-for test in the sense of, can it be built without a tax abatement? With a tax abatement, candidly, it is not spectacular. It's got a coverage ratio of just barely 1.3 at stabilization at that 3-year period. The IRR is 8.4%. I'll get back to that in a second. It does stabilize, and once it's stabilized, you probably can get in the marketplace, and there'll be banks and traditional investors who will be willing to provide equity and loans. And the developers are prepared to say that if the tax abatement is granted, they will assume the risk and go forward and build this project. They're prepared to make that representation, and if you're not, you better speak now, because I just made that on your behalf. All right. So, to give you an idea about IRRs and how they compare, EDA, New Jersey Economic Development Authority, runs all of the incentive programs on behalf of the state. Programs that some of which have been used here in Morristown, like the Grow New Jersey program and the ERG program. And there's a bunch of programs that essentially are programs that say, does this project, be it residential or commercial, does it warrant state assistance, some level of incentive? The way the EDA makes those decisions is they have determined what a reasonable rate of return is for every municipality in the state of New Jersey, and they characterize them by zip code. They literally have different return rates for each zip code. And without going into the details, essentially, the higher the risk the community is, the higher the IRR they think is reasonable to achieve. The more dependable and more stable and reliable, the lower that number is. EDA will not reveal those numbers directly to developers, but they have indicated the range of those numbers. In communities like Morristown, they consider returns of 10, 11% IRR to be a reasonable number, and they will provide incentives for projects in order to have them reach numbers in that range. This is a project that without EDA assistance, and it's not applying for, nor is there any EDA financing available, that is willing to go forward at an IRR that is substantially lower than what New Jersey Economic Development Authority would say is reasonable for the project to want to achieve. So, summing up, this slide and what this is the, as I said, the but-for test. This is a project that meets the but-for test in that it is not a project that's attractive enough to go forward without the local incentive, but with the local incentive, the developers are prepared to proceed and have represented in front of you tonight that if you will vote affirmatively on the proposed abatement, that they're prepared to move forward and implement this project. We talked earlier about the distribution of payments. This is just a quick illustration. For each regular tax dollar, the county gets 12%, the schools get 50%, the municipality gets 38%. With the pilot, the land tax gets distributed as I just said, but the remainder, the net pilot after the land tax credit, the municipality, the town of Morristown gets 95%, the county gets 5%. Okay, the big question that's been asked about this and all similar projects is, well, what about the school impact? Now, school impact is a highly discussed, I discuss it on every residential project in every town. The academic standard that has been used in New Jersey is a study that was done by Rutgers. I was not part of it. This is not my work product. It was done by a guy named David Listican, who is a professor in the Blaustein School. He did a 100% sample. He didn't take a random sample. He took a 100% sample of every residential property in the state of New Jersey and determined what the relationship was between dwelling unit type, economic strata, and geographic location was to population and school kids. He divided the world of New Jersey into South Jersey and North Jersey, and he divided the demographic world into above median income and below median income, and then he produced statistically valid, because it's a 100% sample, so it's like it's everything. He did the math and produced numbers as to what the expectation would be if you built residential properties of a certain size and shape in terms of the number of people that would live there, the number of school kids that would be produced, and the number of school kids that would go to public school. David Listican is somebody I appear sometimes on the same side, sometimes on the opposite side from. You're welcome, to reach out to David. He's still active on the faculty at Rutgers at the Blaustein School. He's currently updating this study. But Dr. Listican's numbers, as applied to this situation, this project falls within his categories of above median income and North Jersey, because that's where you are and that's who you are. And using those characteristics, we've calculated the projected amount of population and school kids. He also did a less robust study of transit-oriented development, which at the time he was doing his major study was an emerging phenomenon, and he wanted to see whether or not it appeared that the behavior would be different in transit-oriented locations. But as I said, he did a less robust study, so it's not as valid statistically. His transit study suggested that residential properties located near mass transit would generate less school kids than the same size and shape units would generate in a non-transit-oriented location. What we've presented here is the results of using both of those calculations. So using his more conservative, non-transit-oriented development factors, this project, with its 54 units, would increase the population of Morristown by 92 people. It would generate 3.3 school-age children, of which 2.6 school children would actually attend public school. If you use the more liberal transit-oriented calculations, those numbers go down to 1.2 public school children. I have to tell you that Dr. Listican's numbers are contested sometimes, included by Dr. Listican himself, but they're only contested as to the fact that they may in fact be overstating population and school children. He did this study in the early 2000s. It was published in 2006, and he himself acknowledges that the population trends that he has observed since that time suggest that he was overstating the impact of population and school children. I have not, in this slide, attempted to adjust for that. This is his raw calculations, his original data. As I said, he is in the process of updating this study. It's expected that next year he will provide a comprehensive update, and we'll see then, how his anecdotal evidence, stands up. But this is, and I emphasize it again, this is not a aggressive or liberal interpretation. This is actually a conservative interpretation as to impact on school children and population. And at 2.6 school kids, it is essentially negligible. It would not cause a school district to hire teachers, change buildings, do any of those things. It essentially is, a non-factor. So I think that concludes, our presentation. I'm happy, and/or Frank, to answer any questions you might have. And as I said, we have provided to your financial experts a more detailed set of numbers, blowing these numbers out for every one of the 30 years. We're happy to, to make those available again and go over it in more detail, but for tonight, happy to answer any specific questions.
I have a question for possibly for Frank. Presumably, so what we're talking about here in your needs assessment for the tax abatement is the cost of construction exceeds the rents that you can obtain plus a reasonable profit, and so it comes down to the construction costs, and so there's some question as to what has increased the construction costs from basically imposed by the town in the redevelopment plan over and above what you would normally have done in a project that you wouldn't have gotten a tax abatement. I was wondering if you have any thoughts, architectural treatments, things like that.
Yeah, and I don't know, Peter, if you want to weigh in on this, huh? Yeah. Again, this is Peter Brosens. He's a rep for Stoller Capital, one of the joint venture partners in the project.
Hi, I'm Peter Brosens from Stoller Capital. I think it was a good question. So there are a couple things that led to construction costs increasing significantly. One of them was just the design overall. I mean, I think the town did a great job in really helping us drive the design, but it's a very high-quality design. A couple of things in particular. The glass solarium on the roof is going to be gorgeous, great amenity space, gym, et cetera, but because there are 6 stories plus the solarium, we have to build by code using light gauge steel versus wood frame. Another small piece is that we're not allowed to vent anything on the side, so we're all venting to the roof. And just given the topography of the site, Frank, you mentioned a couple of things earlier, how on Bank Street there's 6 stories, on Mark Street there's 5, so the topography is quite challenging. The fact that we're building in between Joe LeBoza's site and between the Fox Rothschild site is difficult. But there's a lot of windows. I credit Phil and the town for I'm very proud of the building that we've kind of put in front of you, but it is very costly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. Good question.
Any other questions for these guys?
I actually have 2 questions, and maybe Mr. Baker can help me. Again, it's a very nice project, and I think everybody in town is supportive of it. In your summary of the project benefits in the application itself, quite honestly, I found it weak. I mean, the statement in the application itself refers to 128 construction jobs and then 78 ongoing jobs as the benefit that offsets the cost of the abatement. Can you articulate any other benefits that basically go towards that standard? other than the one statement that you have in the
Well, I mean,
application?
I think that the incremental cost, I mean, the most fundamental issue about benefit is what is the relationship between the incremental revenue to the municipality and the school district and the incremental costs. This is a project that will generate very little in the way of demand for municipal services because of the demographic of the target population. We just talked about the school district, impact being de minimis. So we're talking here about an increase of $160,000, give or take, in the municipal share, and an increase in terms of the aesthetic appeal. I mean, this is admittedly a part of the town that has not kept pace, with the incredible progress that you've made on the Green and on South Street and whatever. This is a part of the town that aesthetically has not been there. It's a difficult site. Peter just told you about some of the architecturals. Just from I'm an engineer by education. Building rectangles is a good idea. When you start building triangles and things like that, they become less efficient. And that's what this site is. This is a really inefficient site. So you're asking for developers to transform a difficult site that has, topographical challenges, has those kinds of challenges, and they're willing to do it and provide financial returns that I believe, again, in my professional opinion, financial returns that exceed substantially the financial impact on both the municipality and the school district. So I think those are great net benefits.
Just by way of clarification, with reference to the offset of the monies being foregone going to the school district, you make an argument that it goes to no children being in this building. But the fact is I believe public education is actually a societal responsibility, and it's not a matter of unit, it's a matter of the town providing proper funding for our schools to educate all of our children. That being said, the concern I have is, did you have conversations with the school district in the development of this plan?
I didn't personally. I'm happy to ask the developers if they did. I was not asked to interact with the school district.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But they're noticed of this application, correct? They received notice for this application?
I informed the school board.
You did?
Of the application. I don't believe anyone is here.
Yeah, we have not been contacted by anyone in the school.
From the school board?
This is really, I'm not trying to be funny, but where did the school district's headquarters go? Because their website says they're at 31 whatever, and it's an empty building. Where actually is the Morris School District?
It's 31 Hazlitt
Hazel Street?
Hazel Street.
I went to 31 Hazel Street, and
It's a school, a functioning school.
So the superintendent's
It's in the
office is up on the second
it's in the
floor.
school.
is that, okay. Well, that's why it seemed, okay. I appreciate that, because I was trying to find the school district to get, to
Next
get some
application.
information.
Next application, you'll find it.
Mr. Council President, okay, we had the town's financial
Great.
consultant here as well.
Good.
Wants to share her perspective and answer any questions that you might have.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
I can
gonna,
bring my own, but I know that
do you wanna,
these can be touched.
go ahead, I don't even wanna mess it up, so go ahead. Just a second.
All right. While this is booting up, hello, I'm Maggie Haight. I was introduced to this project through Phil Abramson, the town's planner of topology, to do financial analysis on the proposal. I work for a firm called BJH Advisors. We work on, similar to Tom Banker, both representing the municipalities as well as private developers. We're based in New York, and I'm always excited to come out to New Jersey because I went to grad school here, so it's nice to get out of the city. Okay. So I introduced myself. The purpose of our analysis was to gauge the necessity and strength of Vertical Solar's pilot application, and whether we think it's a responsible move by the town. So we approached this analysis in two ways. First, we got the pro forma model from Tom Banker, and looked at the model structure and assumptions that were driving the results that they described. Then we compared the valuation of tax payments under existing conditions, so with the retail that you saw at the beginning of the developer's presentation, as well as the revenue assumed under the pilot, and lastly, the tax payments accruing to Morristown under comparable redevelopment if it was paying full taxes. So getting right to our findings, we found that the structure and model assumptions were in working condition and representative of the way pilots happen in real life, and the assumptions were also representative of the on-the-ground conditions in Morristown. One thing that we did in conjunction with the town is really stressed a lot of these assumptions. We looked at a lot of different sensitivities. We wanted to make sure that we considered different economic scenarios and really stressed what was going on in the model to see if what the developers were putting forth made sense and could be representative of reality. And then we compared these three revenue streams. So we found that the revenue realized by Morristown is greater under the proposed pilot than standard property taxes, and it greatly exceeds the revenue expected with no new development on the site. Additional findings, so like I described before, we stressed a lot of these assumptions that the developers were using. We did our own market research. We differed a little bit in terms of what we thought was, expected rents. And I think things like that led the town to push in the negotiations with the developer for the greater than minimum pilot schedule and greater than what was originally proposed when I started working on this project. So I think that is a good result for the municipality. And then in addition, the town can also realize some market upside in these types of deals. If rents continue to increase as they have over the past 5 years and the town remains healthy, they'll receive the benefit of a successful project. So again, this represents a mutually beneficial agreement, a partnership between the developer and the town to achieve the redevelopment goals that have been set out in the master plan. And then just to help visualize what these streams of revenues look like, I included a chart. So in the gray, we have the taxes that would be received by the municipality under theoretical full taxes. They're pretty flat with annual escalation. The green line represents the revenues that the town would receive with this pilot agreement using the assumptions that we settled on. This is just one scenario. Again, we tested a lot of different scenarios. And you can see that the green line is below the gray line in the initial years, and this represents the lease up of the project. So when you first finish a project, it's probably not fully leased. This is totally to be expected. And then eventually it reaches full capacity, and the pilot projection revenue is very similar to that of full taxes in the first 10 years. And then if you remember back to the schedule that was laid out, it really starts to ramp up in the out years. So we're talking about 13.5% of AGR up to 15%. And you can see that both of these lines are much higher than the blue line, which represents the tax take by the municipality under the what's currently there. So happy to take any questions. This is what we did to look at this application.
What Mr. Baker referred to as the stabilization year, is that 19 or 21?
That would be 21. 2 years after. I mean, that can also be tested, but I think that's a well-regarded assumption.
How does I guess the question really comes down to how much profit they're making off of this, and are we subsidizing that profit?
Sure.
There was, Mr. Baker talked about capitalization rate of 8 and change being sort of reasonable under basically what they accepted versus 6.5 under the full. From your opinion, is 8 and change reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with Tom Banker in this case. I think that it's a marginal return. You guys have been involved with these developers for a while. You can see that these projects aren't cut and dried. They're taking risk. They acquired the site. They'll still have to take on additional construction risk, and they really won't receive any revenue until, like the chart shows, 2021. So, some people think like, oh, 8%, that seems great to me. Like my 401k is not returning that level. But I think that in the case of developers, this is a pretty standard, if not marginal, return for this type of project.
The other question comes down to the risk factor of the Morristown area. I would say that when this area was designated in need of rehabilitation back in 2008 or so, there was nothing here, and definitely high risk. Now we have $1 million condos across the street, or townhouses across the street, and the Fox Rothschild building and the buildings on Court Street. It's your opinion that this is still a high risk area?
I mean, I don't think that Morristown is a necessarily high-risk area. I think you guys have proven over the past 5 years that you've been really successful in achieving your redevelopment goals. What I will say about this project is that it does include 1/3 commercial, basically 1 2/3 residential, and commercial is always a more risky development type, especially, I mean, they're talking about ground floor retail, but also potential to do some commercial office, which again is more risky than retail, as well as the site constraints that they described. So in my opinion, I think that return is commensurate with the risk profile for this project. If it was a soft site and a flat piece of land, that was going to be, 100% residential, I would say, the likelihood that they would need a pilot is less. But given the particular issues with this site that have been laid out, and also the benefits, which to me, I mean, when I've walked around Morristown, I'll just say, I think that this is sort of a missing tooth, and that once it's completed, it will look nice.
Thank you. That's what the questions are.
Just back to the school issue for a second. The administration of this town has done a very, very good job controlling taxes, and we actually have not seen our municipal tax rate increase for a number of years. That being said, with $9 million being kept away from the school budget or contributing to the school cost, will that come back? Is there any correlation between that and the school portion of our taxes going up greater than what would be expected if this was not under a pilot?
I mean, let me think about that. So,
Okay.
do you want to use my?
I think that the presentation from Mr. Banker was that the project wouldn't be built without the pilot, when, the law is more lenient than the standard that Morristown has imposed on pilots. The law is permissive in terms of giving you discretion to grant pilots if you're realizing benefits from the pilots. But Morristown, really from, in the past 8 years or so that I've been representing Morristown, this administration has imposed a but-for test, which was referred to by Tom Banker, meaning that but for the pilot, the project would not get built. And, the two main factors there, as has been alluded to, is one, an internal rate of return, which means that, what is the return on capital, cash on cash return, and the other is, does the project produce a financeable yield, meaning that a commercial lender would lend on this project. And if the answer, to those two questions is the project's to go without a pilot, then there's not going to be a pilot that's going to be recommended to the council. So I guess it's a long-winded way of saying that, that $9 million or whatever it is to the schools doesn't exist and would not exist because but for the project, or the pilot, there would not be a project. And so the comparison in this instance and to all of the other projects that have received tax abatement benefits in town, the comparison, the actual comparison is the existing condition to the project, with the pilot. Because again, none of those projects would have received tax abatement without satisfying the but-for test. And just the last point, which was alluded to, and that is that the pilots, what we've seen in Morristown is that when we started, I think Modera was the first pilot we did, I may be mistaken, which was a make-the-market, project and a make-the-market pilot. And so we really didn't have history, assumptions. I know that at that time, we were coming out of recession, and, from my own knowledge, I know that construction costs were a lot lower back then than they are now. And so, 10% pilot, was issued. But over time, as Morristown has been successful, those percentages have increased. And you'll see that this project, it's been a steady increase in the percentages. And as was alluded to by Mr. Banker, this project, is higher than others. So you're seeing that, kind of natural progression of increasing percentages going to the municipality, which, I think is a pretty normal dynamic in a town that has experienced success, and a good one. And maybe at some point, somebody's going to make an application for a pilot, and they're not going to satisfy the but-for test, and it's not going to pencil, in which case there won't be a recommendation for a pilot if the project can, be viable and healthy without it. Because after all, the one benefit that, is really central to this is the eradication of blight and realizing your redevelopment goals. That's really what you're trying to do, is transform blighted areas, into, projects that are beneficial, to the community. And at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about.
Are you going to ask but just to follow up on Bob's question, is the town going to be at some kind of situational risk or predicament or in some kind of jeopardy in 30 years with a school tax that's required that we are not able to pay? Or is there any kind of risk there in not paying the school portion? I realize what a pilot is, and I understand what a pilot is, but I think, and forgive me if I'm not using the right terminology, but I don't know if you answered the question, which is by not paying are we in some kind of situation that we have to then budget for or plan for financially to pay for the school portion? Because my understanding is in 30 years, there will be a school portion requirement.
Well, in 30 years, the pilot goes away, and so you're paying, regular taxes at that point in time. The other consideration in any pilot, and Councilman Anacone hit on it, is that you always, it's certainly normal and appropriate for the council to consider what the impacts would be on schools. I think the developer has recognized that, which is why Mr. Banker gave the presentation that he did on the number of school children that are projected to come from this project. And I can confirm what Mr. Banker told you in terms of the 2006 study, really overstating the number of school children, which in this case I think he said was 2.6, on a transit model at 1.2 or 1. So in this particular case, I think the analysis for you is to say, is the potential for one child or perhaps two, detrimental, to the schools. In other, municipalities that I've represented and been involved with, the analysis is that, well, are you declining or are you growing in terms of school-aged children? And is a particular project going to create a tipping point where, you don't have the capacity to service a number of children that are going to be entering the school? Is a project going to force the hiring of more teacher, the expansion of a school, things of that nature? Or can your existing school infrastructure absorb whatever the number of children are coming out of a project? I think the point that Mr. Banker was saying, that one or two children out of this project, not to speak for him, is probably negligible and would not have the impact of causing school expansions and the like. So, that's a judgment call for you to make, though.
So basically, there's 54 units, and there's 16 two-bedrooms, right? Maybe this is a question for Mr. Banker.
Yeah,
Frank?
14 two-bedrooms, 30 studios.
And 31 bedrooms? Okay, so feasibly, a two-bedroom could be for a family with kids. So the formula that you have, you break down school kids and preschool kids? Is that, I just want to understand it, but,
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so David Listikin's study took unit size, meaning studio, one-bedroom, two-bedroom, three-bedroom, et cetera, and literally counted how many people live there, how many school kids live there, and how many of them went to public schools.
you don't have to go through the whole study again, but I just had a question as to, because this came up recently, and I have questions about giving, the whole pilot situation, but I see the benefits that you've outlined here clearly. Let me just go back. My other question is on the public benefit. You said the public benefit is that you're getting a group of people that are generally going to have a low demand of services?
Yes.
What kind of people, can you just explain that a little
Okay,
bit in terms of
the
demand of public services?
Okay, the set of services that municipalities provide, right, includes public safety services. Just by way of background, I've been a town administrator for many years before I started doing this kind of stuff. I ran the city of Newark, I ran the town of Belleville, so I have a background as a city public administrator, and I teach public administration.
So could you just answer the question,
no,
please?
just wanted to give you a context.
Range of people this is going to attract.
In modern buildings with modern public safety features like smoke detectors and whatever, the likelihood of fire service demand is way lower than it was in buildings that were built, let's say, in the 1930s. So modern buildings don't create a comparable demand for fire services. Okay. The demand for police services, statistically, if you examine buildings in neighborhoods of certain demographic character, do not create great demand for police services. The target market for this, as demonstrated by the rents that are projected in the pro forma, are for people of middle and upper middle income, who are not people that require significant amounts of social or public health services. They make enough money that they have health insurance and all that stuff. So the indicia of what drives demands for public services are very low in buildings of this type that are marketed to this demographic. You have your own sample in Morristown. I've not studied it, but it might be interesting to examine the buildings, because you've gone through a renaissance here in Morristown over the last 15 years. You've added, 10, 15, 20 significant projects, and your own experience might be instrumental as to what has been the impact on your schools, on your demand for public services for those buildings. I would postulate that those buildings have not generated anything resembling a linear increase in the demand for municipal services.
I just, where I'm going is there is concern in town with a lot of apartments and the bars, okay, and the bar traffic. So when you talk about a low demand of services, police, and that in my mind, that there's a correlation there between the demographic here and police services, feasibly, possibly with bar traffic. Now, granted, 92 people is not a lot, but 92 people times 2 added to the scene. I don't know if that's a concern with the council or the administration or not, but I think that you're right. The school portion is probably small in this building. It's definitely an improvement aesthetically. By saying this project wouldn't get developed, you're right. Maybe this project wouldn't get developed, but maybe another project might get developed, or a smaller scale project could get developed. But I agree with you on 2 out of the 3 benefits. I think my last question is commercial retail, because you talked about the commercial retail.
Well,
and before, we had a gym on the first floor, we had an art studio, we had the town had some ambiance with some businesses on the first floor retail. Is now a time to talk about the retail portion on the first floor, or is this strictly a pilot?
I don't think this has anything to do with the retail. I mean,
Okay.
I suspect that it's, as I recall from the planning board approval, there is no defined retail space at this point, and so it would be subject to the owner's interest and market, what they can get to go in there. But I don't
Is
think
it
has
possible
anything-
to get copies of these presentations that were provided tonight visually?
Yeah, I would hope that the administration would coordinate with the applicant to get those applications. Also, just for your information, the David Listikin report that he referred to is attached to this 11 by 17.
Oh, that's what this,
Yes.
the whole report?
No, just the title page and one of the
Okay.
statewide New Jersey school-age children generator information.
Okay. Oh, thanks. Just in closing, I mean, I just want to thank you for your interest in our town, and it's definitely an improvement on what's there already.
I would like to bring up the school-age children issue, and I agree that, your numbers were roughly 2.6. My numbers were 4, but irrespective, de minimis. My concern, I think, and it's likely independent of this tax abatement, is what is the fair contribution of the town to the school system for applicable services rendered. Looking at the New Jersey Department of Education Taxpayer Guide to Education Spending, they say that it costs $21,000 per pupil per year for the Morris School District. And so, if it was three kids or 4 kids, we're talking $60,000, $80,000 a year. Is it fair to knock out to provide those kids or generate those kids and not have the town contribute to the school district budget? Following the lead of Jersey City and which now requires 10% contribution, and I believe there's a couple bills on the floor for statewide for some additional amounts. What's fair? I look at the Woodbridge Township pilot policy. Since 2006, they've been providing 25%, and they've been working with the school district to apply it to municipal projects in the town on school district policies that improves the school district and also improves the town. So I think I see, this project, three, when you add this one and the last 5 or 6 other tax abatements, maybe it's 50 kids, maybe it's 10 kids, there's a cost to it. I've approved every one, and as we approve more and more, we keep talking about, well, is this fair for us to keep going down this line? So I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, one thing we were discussing before the meeting is that there is some funding that does go to the school district via the land taxes, as Tom Banker was explaining. So the land taxes that are paid each year do get broken up in, if you remember the helpful pie shape, in the proportion that regular ad valorem taxes are. So we'd have to go back into the model and see what land taxes come out to every year in this development, but it is probably on the level, like you said, $20,000 per kid, $16,000 to $20,000 per kid times 3 kids. I think that the land taxes that are being paid by the project cover that amount that goes to the county. We can confirm that, but I think that the de minimis amount of school children projected would fit within that.
I guess where I'm going with this is the council interested in approving the application, but essentially establishing a percentage of the pilot that we receive that goes to the school district?
I don't think we can, because it changes the economics of the presentation, the application, and what we're voting on. I think you would have to consider that prior to actually submitting the application. I like the idea, and I think that's the whole purpose behind the Singleton bill in the House currently, is that whole concept of greater school district participation in the development of these pilots. But I think the economics that were presented, that we're actually judging this project on, have been presented by the applicant, quite frankly, in good faith, following the current rules. And, they worked with the town through an approval process, they worked with the town through, developing this pilot financially, and they acted in good faith. I think what you're doing, if we do something like that, we should have done that before tonight. But for the record, I like your idea, and I like where you're going with this.
Well, just for the record, I think the land tax would supersede the amount you would pay per kid. So if you're talking 2.6 kid, your land tax is going to be higher than what your school board. And I guess the long-term argument is, we'll take the hospital for an example. So the hospital, the school board goes, well, we don't see a check for $540,000. But what they don't realize is that is the combined assessment of $50 million that gets put into the Hodel assessment of the town, where they gain 530 something thousand dollars in taxes and produce no children. 40 Park, fully taxed building, produces very, very small amounts of children, but yet pays hundreds and hundreds of thousands in school taxes, well above what they generate. So there's a balance, and I think that what the financial advisor talked about is let her come back with the number of the land taxes. We see it escalating, and I do think Mr. Banker's presentation, his one slide was very telling. And I agree with him. These are, and the councilwoman, these are young professionals, most likely, and the children being produced out of this 54-unit development is probably going to be de minimis. And remember that this applicant, also part of the application was they provided 18% affordable homes that pay taxes,
10 units over.
that pay taxes and have children. So those are affordable houses on the tax roll. So, that's also part of the package, so I think that needs to be at least put in the record.
Yeah, the benefits, I don't think they talked about affordable housing units.
And just for the record, there is a 100,000, or 1% public art benefit up to $100,000.
I forgot about that. You voted on that.
I did.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this application? All right, let's put it to a vote.
Okay, on the introduction of O 2817, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Motion passes. Been properly introduced. The date for adoption and public hearing will be on December 19th at 7:30 PM. Okay.
I agree with you.
So I'm gonna keep rolling.
What's that?
It is.
Give everyone a second.
Let's give it a second, yeah, Sure, sure. A 5-minute, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
You see mine?
You just turned around. We're on,
Okay.
She just likes you a lot.
We have ordinance 030, 2017 for introduction, and ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 14 rent control.
I'll move it.
Tax abatement, stop tax abatement.
Second, sorry.
Okay.
Can the administration give us a little brief summary of the, what's going on? No, it's the rent control, I think, well, why don't you give us a little brief summary?
Where are
of
we?
what's going on?
03017, intro of rent control, Chapter 14.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think
go,
that's
you
pretty
do.
reasonable.
Yeah, well, I think what you're asking is on the next two ordinances with reference to Chapter 14 and Chapter 13, there has been some concerns from residents in Rogers Forge Village with reference to some surcharges that are being requested of them pursuant to Chapter 14 of the rent leveling ordinance. In addition, there was some concern about some requirements in the town minimum square footage, which actually raised a concern about can you be basically evicted or encouraged not to live in the unit because you can't put two children in a bedroom. I applaud the administration because quickly they acted on both of these concerns. One, with reference to using money orders to pay rent, making that clarification, and on the second, actually making the size of a bedroom smaller so that a family can live in a two-bedroom apartment that might have a small bedroom.
For kids.
For kids. But, you know.
Can't actually
that-
talk about 31.
That being said, you know, we're spending a lot of time on this, so I think it's great. Tomorrow, we're meeting with the residents of Rogers Forge to basically go through what their rights are.
That's correct.
Okay, so these are really, I think, very, very good steps, and I applaud because this just happened a couple of weeks ago, and in a very speedily fashion, the issues are being addressed. That being said, I also spent a lot of time looking at the rent leveling ordinance. And again, we haven't touched that in a long time. From my reading, it was modified a little bit in 2014, but the crux of the ordinance goes back about 14 years. What I'd like to suggest, because again, and let me just put this footnote on it, I think we as a town have done a phenomenal job in terms of moderate and low income. I think we're actually probably a model for anybody else in this county. And we've done not just our share, but I think we've done more than our share. But I do think that there's a group of population in our town that basically are those people that are getting by, working families, $60,000 a year, that actually do take advantage of rent control. And I think the preservation of rent control units in the town might be one of the tools we have in our affordability toolkit. And what I'd like to suggest to the council is that we put together a subcommittee maybe to review whether or not we should make any changes or propose any changes, or probably more appropriately, create a greater forum to discuss rent control in the town for the purpose of, one, making sure our tenants are protected, two, making sure our tenants are not harassed, and three, to what extent can we use that as a tool to maintain affordability in our town?
All right, let's bring that up under new business, if you want to do it. but-
Well, I can answer that right away. One, I think the town attorney's going to have to give you a memo on the whole rent control issue from the referendum on, what our do's and don'ts. You have vacancy decontrol, and I think if you form a subcommittee, it dies at the end of the year.
Why is that?
I think in the new year.
Good point,
All right, so,
good point. So do this, hold off and
Yeah.
consider it.
And let him get the memo, the material to you. So I think it's a good point that you're making, but I just want to make sure you're armed with everything legally from the town attorney.
you're out of order. All right, any more questions? All right, call the question.
Okay, on introduction 03017, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
030 introduced. The date for adoption and public hearing will be on December 19th at 7:30 PM. Okay, we have ordinance 031, 2017, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 13 Housing and Property Maintenance Code will be introduced on first reading.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the council?
good to go.
Okay.
Bob summarized it in 0:30.
Okay, on intro 03117, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Motion carries, and the date for adoption and public hearing will be December 19th at 7:30 PM. On introduction of ordinance 032-2017, an ordinance vacating an existing sanitary sewer easement on Block 7601, Lot 4, and accepting a new Court Street sewer easement extension on Block 7601, Lot 4, will be introduced on first reading.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay,
Any questions? Call the question.
okay, on intro 03217, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Motion carries. The date for adoption and public hearing will be December 19th at 7:30 PM. We have one ordinance for adoption this evening. We have ordinance 027-2017, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 parking.
I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing. Any questions on ordinance number 027-2017? No public. Close the public hearing.
Okay. On the adoption 02717, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Okay, we have three resolutions for adoption this evening.
Any interested in breaking any apart?
Can you break out, Council President, for me, R 181?
Sure. All right, we might as well just go through all of them. Let's make a motion to approve R 180 and 182.
Second.
And 182. Okay, on Resolution R-180, 2017 and 182, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Resolution passed. So we have Resolution R-181, 2017, a resolution reappointing Frank Mason as the Chief Financial Officer.
I'll move it.
Second.
With permission,
Yes.
a couple things. Hey, Frank, I just, the public's here, so I want the whole public to hear how great you are. I can tell you that for 8 years, went through 2 financial CFOs, and then I met Frank a few years ago, and Frank's been on board since. I can tell you that it is a pleasure having a CFO of this guy's caliber, character, and ability. So I would ask the council to 100% support Frank, and he's going to be with us for a very long time, and we appreciate his service to our community.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Mason.
Right, on Resolution 181, 2017.
It's all vote no.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Elms?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Iannacone?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Any old business? No? New business?
I guess
No.
I can well, no, it's not really new, is it?
Can't hear you.
I just want to give an update just on the applications for the Housing Authority.
Okay.
We've
Yeah.
come up with a short list of people we'd like to interview. So if we could get Robin to schedule some appointments for us, I guess she can be in touch with you this week and you can let us know, or?
Well, what you need to do is, why don't you give me times, and
Okay.
that way I'm not playing, just, if you can let me know, give me a night or an afternoon or what works for you, and then in my free time, I'll set it up.
Perfect, thanks.
Also, we interviewed, the 4 of us interviewed the potential clerk candidates, and we all came to a single decision. If the other council members want to interview them, I would encourage that if you want to. So coordinate with Jillian and Deputy Clerk. All right?
I'd like to add that I think it's really important that we make a move on who we've decided, on, unless you guys make some time to meet with these people as soon as possible if you wish to. because I know we need real serious help in the clerk's office, and we don't want to really, push this off much longer.
No dilly-dallying.
No dilly-dallying, is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Okay. Council
Motion
President
to
Escobar.
adjourn.
Well, wait, I just would like to recognize the town and the mayor and the council for the Open Space Trust Fund Award. It's in the correspondence. I don't know, Mayor, were you going to say something?
I was
or
going to wait
do you-
till I got word back. I don't want to put the horse before the cart until we get the word from Trust Public Land.
The letter was in correspondence, that's why I was just bringing it up.
Yeah, we just, but I would like to just make that as a bigger announcement when we get the sign on the dotted line. So, do you have any update on that? Okay, so as soon as we get an update, I'll let you know.
And who prepared that grant application? Was it Millennium
Yeah.
Strategies?
Yes.
Okay.
So we did, so the council, since it's out, council,
Excuse me.
we got awarded $1.35 million from the county, open space to go along with the $500,000 we have already for the acquisition of 11 acres over at Loyola Retreat House that will combine with Foots Pond and make an amazing amenity for the town. But we still have to get the deal with, Kevin's writing. We're just waiting on negotiations from Trust for Public Land and Loyola, and then hopefully within a couple of weeks, we'll have some more news for you.
Is there a purchase price in concept?
I did want to just say briefly that
Discuss it yet? Okay.
I attended the freeholder meeting along with the Friends of Foots Pond members, and the Board of Chosen Freeholders were very, very impressed with the presentation, and that members of the public came out and the organization, and they had a nice display that they shared with them. So I think that of pictures of wildlife, of waterfowl. So I think that was really well received, and they're really excited to be a part of this project. So I think it's a good thing.
The largest open space.
It'll be my third, I think.
Our third.
Our third.
Well,
Yeah.
as the mayor, it falls under the administration, and then you'll vote on it, obviously, but
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll leave it at that. No other mayor had any open space in the last 30 years, just for the record.